Oh, hello. Welcome back to another quick edition, Blitz edition of the Fleeting Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Leffler. Appreciate you joining me today. Look, I want to talk about something and I want to educate you about something. And my hope in the next 10 minutes is that you will walk away from this short video understanding one very interesting legal topic, legal doctrine, legal solution or remedy. We call it specific performance. And specific performance is when there is no remedy at law that can solve the problem, only forcing an action to take place. That's the only solution. And in order for you to learn about specific performance, I get to use a case in supply chain. It's happening right now. Right now in the Delaware Chancery Court is an epic battle unfolding that will likely be something we'll remember for quite some time. This is the saga of Forward Air and Omni Logistics. We're streaming live to LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. We didn't publicize or talk about this because really we just have a few minutes before our next call we got to get ready for. So to be in the moment, I want to tell you where I got my information, and we'll talk about everything as we go through it. So this was filed on November 17th, Friday, and it's a letter from Omni Logistics to the shareholders of Forward Air. And we'll talk about why they sent that letter. And we also have two beautiful legal documents, the complaint and the Chancery Court. But to really get into this, I want to show a slide deck that I put together. So without further ado, take a look. Now, I want to explain what Forward Air and Omni Logistics is all about, but I realize as I've tried to do that in the comments on Twitter or LinkedIn, it doesn't quite do it justice. So presumably this will be a place where I can break down this a little bit better. And of course, plug what we all know and care about, F3 memes. F3 memes. Do it every day. Maybe Craig Fuller will let you go to F3 for free. I think that's what the goal is. We're trying, so it's important that I make sure to plug that. Moving on. What is this deal between Forward Air and Omni Logistics all about? Well, it's about merging two entities, one of them being a 3PL provider and one of them being an LTL provider. This image here is exactly what is featured in the letter that was sent to the shareholders of Forward Air, explaining to them, look, here's the value. Here's what it is we contemplate happening. The 3PL, which is Omni, and the LTL provider, which is Forward, are going to combine, and they're going to remove friction and make a more cohesive solution for shipping customers. For Forward Air, this makes a lot of sense. They don't have a lot of great relationships with the customers that ship things. Their customers are actually the 3PL providers, and the LTL providers out there just delivering stuff. So let's get into what is exactly at stake here. So here's the deal. A merger agreement is negotiated between the board of directors for Forward Air and Omni. Forward actually approaches Omni and says, we want to make a deal. We want to combine our organizations. And the structure of this deal is what has made so many people so curious. What ends up happening is they do a deal that's structured in a way that Forward Air's shareholders don't get a vote. How does that happen? How do you, as the acquiring entity, not get have your shareholders have a say in the ultimate combination? Well, it's a law in the state of Tennessee, and that law in Tennessee says if the company that's coming in is going to have over 20% of the voting rights, then you have to have a shareholder vote. But if it's 20% or under, you don't have to have a shareholder vote. So the deal that gets put in place gives Omni about a 20% stake in the new Forward Air. And there's another big block of stock, And that stock has a 13% dividend, meaning, hey, no matter how well you perform, to an extent, I get 13%. I get return on my investment. That's a great deal. But that 13% stock can be converted into voting equity, voting rights. So what ends up happening is the deal is put in place. A merger agreement is executed. And then in Tennessee, some shareholders sue, Forward Air shareholders sue to stop the deal. They say, look, we get a say. We didn't get to vote. We want to have our say on this deal. And in the court in Tennessee, the judge says, no, you don't. No, like the law is very clear. This isn't, a loophole. This is following the law as written. And just because these shares may get to be voting shares at some point, they're not voting shares now. And so the injunction, it was an injunction that stopped the deal from happening. That was dissolved. And then you have the fallout, which is what we're seeing now. So the deal was supposed to be done quickly, and it wasn't really going to be in the public spotlight. It was going to be Omni with their private equity-backed investors, and they would be being acquired by Forward Air as a wholly owned Forward Air subsidiary. But when that suit gets filed in Tennessee, everybody takes a pause, and they say, wait a second. Is this deal really good? Is it a good deal for shareholders? Is it a good deal for customers? And what we see that happens, like everything, is once it's brought to public light, people start getting cold feet. They start thinking, maybe we should renegotiate. Maybe we should pause, take breath, open up the books, and do a little bit more negotiating. What is the real value that we should be doing? This deal, mind you, is hundreds of millions. It's a $3 billion deal. This is a massive deal in supply chain. This is taking a massive LTL, combining them with a massive freight forwarder that is going to result in what could conceivably be a pretty big solution provider. But the people at Forward Air have been skeptical. They look at this outlined deal and they say, well, I don't know that we really want to do that. We think we should step away. We think actually that the merger agreement has been broken by Omni, which gives us the right to walk away. Now, when Forward Air was contemplating this deal initially, they had to take out a bunch of loans to help facilitate the deal. And they're spending about $170,000 a day, $170,000 a day in this ordeal. But here's the thing. You may remember not too long ago when a billionaire wanted to buy a technology company called Twitter. And at first he said, I want to buy it for this amount. And then later on, when the valuations and the market reacted in a way that wasn't necessarily positive, he wanted to walk it back, renegotiate, open up the deal one more time. That's not how this works. Now we get into what we call specific performance. This is the part that I want you to understand. This is foundation to understand, okay, these two companies, one wants to buy the other, they're going to merge, I have all these different things. But when someone says, I want to be done, I want to go away, I want this to be over, you got to take action. And so Omni sued in the Delaware Chancery Court. Now, if you're not an M&A person, and I understand if you're not, or a corporate combination person or any type of, that kind of corporate oversight type of stuff, you can be forgiven. The Delaware Chancery Court is like Madison Square Garden for the folks in my business that care a lot about M&A and corporate governance. Delaware is a great state, and they have incredible legal doctrines and tons of case law and great judges who truly understand what's at stake. Now, when Elon Musk tried to walk away from the deal he had with Twitter, Twitter sued him in the Delaware Chancery Court. And very quickly after that, the deal was done at the price that was initially negotiated. There was no way out of it. And this is what specific performance is all about. This is what is inside that merger agreement. And I'm going to read this verbatim because we have a couple minutes left. The specific performance provision of the merger agreement. Quote, Section 10.06 of the merger agreement states that Omni will suffer irreparable harm in the event Forward declines to close the merger and provides for specific performance of the contract. Now, what this means is there is no legal remedy. There's no amount of money that Omni is going to be given that's going to make them whole. The only thing that will make them happy, the only thing contemplated in the merger agreement is this thing around specific performance. Let's continue. Quote, the parties agree that the parties would be irreparably damaged if any provision of this agreement was not performed in accordance with its specific terms or was otherwise breached, including such parties' failure to take all actions as are necessary on such parties' part in accordance with the terms and conditions of this agreement to consummate the transactions. And each party further waives any defense that a remedy at law would be adequate in any action or action for specific performance or injunctive relief hereunder. Accordingly, the parties shall be entitled to an injunction or injunctions to prevent breaches of this agreement and to enforce specifically the performance of the terms of this agreement, in addition to any other remedy at law or in equity. It continues. What we're seeing right now is two incredibly sophisticated companies, one publicly traded, one privately held, with a deal that was negotiated and executed by both boards of directors, following the law that was necessary to be followed to make the deal happen. I have seen things in the news reported that it seems that the shareholders of Forward Air are being harassed or they're being inundated with information, that it's Omni who's the aggressor here. But the reality is no, not at all. The way I read this is pretty clear. A deal was done. The market didn't necessarily love it. But you know what? That's not the point. The point is to follow what is in the contract. And all Omni seems to be doing in this moment is trying to enforce the deal that was done. No amount of money is going to undo it. In fact, money is the only thing that's not going to solve this. What will solve this is that very interesting, very nebulous legal doctrine called specific performance. When there is no resolution you can find at law, you can turn to equity. Mark my words, in, let's say, a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months, it has to be before February 10th. That's the cutoff when the financing elapses. This deal will be done. There'll be a lot of changes at Forward Air. Maybe they elect to have those securities with the dividends become voting shares, giving Omni the largest voting block within Forward Air. But this is the deal that was done. This is what the deal provides for. And as you go down the rabbit hole, I hope you understand that I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. I just want you to understand that this deal was done a certain way to achieve a certain outcome. And the outcome is going to happen regardless of whether Forward Air wants it to happen or not at this point. Because when they signed that document, when all their people agreed to the terms and conditions and waived all these breaches that could potentially happen, specific performance is all that's left. And that's it. That is a little breakdown of the world of specific performance, mergers and acquisitions, and all the fun things that are out there. I hope this was interesting or useful or something. As always, thanks for tuning in. Please catch our live show this Friday with Sadie Church and Lars Ward. Oh, that's going to be fantastic. And as always, and we talk about this a lot, this is very clear. I love trailers. I do. I love those big 53-foot vans with swing doors. We're talking LTL. We're talking dry van pups with roll-up doors, 28 feet long, a dolly in between. Oh, you can move a lot of freight when you cube out that box or, way out the box, either way. As long as you're moving a full load, you're in good shape. If you need trailers, you want to talk about trailers, you want to lease some trailers, buy some trailers, sell some trailers, I want to talk to you. I'm your trailer guy. I want to help you solve trailer problems. As always, thanks for tuning in. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Have a happy Thanksgiving. And you know what? If someone around the dinner table says, what are you learning about in the business these days? You can talk to them about specific performance.